Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Ashley Barlow Company podcast. I'm Ashley Barlow, your host. If you are a parent, a teacher, or someone who works at a school, or you're a community member, a volunteer, or a staff member at an organization that supports people with special education plans, a coach, a tutor, or even a grandparent, you're in the right place. Sit back with an ice cold glass of lemonade, put on your walking shoes and grab some headphones, roll down the windows and cruise. Ready, set, go. Educate, advocate, collaborate.
Welcome back to another episode of Special Education Advocacy with Ashley Barlow. I'm Ashley Barlow, and I am so happy you're here. Okay, friends, July. We made it to July. Jack Barlow is officially 14 years old, which is crazy to me. He and I were at the pool today, which is not crazy. That's where we are a lot. And he was like too close to the pool during adult swim at our pool. Like every 45 minutes, the kids have to get out. It gives the adults time in the pool alone, but more importantly, it gives the kids a break. And Jack was a little too close, and my girlfriend said, Jack, you can't get in for 4 more years. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to be 18 in 4 years. All of a sudden it hit me, which is crazy. So, yeah, I hope you had a great 4th of July weekend. I know that those weekends are hard. And, I say it on social media probably often enough, but I don't think we can ever say it often enough that weekends are hard. Holidays are hard. Special events are hard. And I think it's just really reassuring to know that we're all in it together. So I'm not going to paint a super rosy picture about the 4th of July and Jack's birthday. It was great. We had a great time. He will look back on it and say that it was awesome. But in all actuality, I think Jack was really anxious the whole day about whether or not everything was going to happen in his ideal day. Was he going to get to listen to his music? Was he going to get to go to the Mexican place for dinner? Was he going to get, all of the things? Who was going to come bring him presents? And as a result, he was, from my perspective, outside perspective, he was super anxious. From his perspective, maybe he was really enjoying his birthday. Who knows? He says he did. And I guess that's what matters. So, yeah, holidays are hard. And I think knowing that we are all in it together makes it better. And I think we've talked about some tips here on the podcast and on social media to make them better. And we're good until Labor Day weekend. No more holidays until an unstructured Monday, following a couple of days of school for a lot of us. And that is a recipe for disaster. Okay. Today, I want to talk to you about goal writing. And yes, I am like the world's worst about goal writing. I'm not the world's worst. I've got 5 points that I think should be in every goal. And I am really kind of tedious about that in most IEPs that I review for many, many reasons. I do think, by the way, this is an aside that I don't think I've ever said here. I think there are reasons to kind of let goals slide. That might not be the fruit that you are interested in picking. It might be high-hanging fruit. It might be low-hanging fruit. But anyway, I do think that there are 5 important key components to a well-written goal. And I do talk about those over in the lab. But today on the podcast, I want to talk about 6 things that you should have before you write a goal. 6 things that you should look at, or that you should think about, or that you should have or review or analyze before you write a goal. The first one of those things is really obvious. It's present levels. So the IEP works in order, and the first substantive part is the present levels of academic and functional performance. Now, in your state, it might be called something different, but present levels of performance for academics and for functional skills. And it's super important when we write goals that we have that information. So the first thing that I think is super important is that you look at areas of development, academic development and functional development, and that you simply ensure that that is accurate. And to the extent that it is not, in your opinion, then go get extra information. Maybe that means getting an IEE, an independent educational evaluation. Maybe it means going to your outside people and being like, hey, do you have a write up of the testing that you did? Maybe it means curricular testing. Maybe it means adding a sentence that says the parents don't observe this at home, but it's something that's happening at school because a behavior or a skill isn't generalizing across different environments. But it's super important before we write a goal to address a need that we have good present levels, that we know where the child is. So that's number one. Number two is accurate assessments. And this kind of goes to accurate present levels. But within the present levels, we should be looking at assessment data. And so we need to make sure that we know where a child is. Now, I know a lot of you follow, and a lot of you who follow me and who are listening have kids with developmental disabilities and cognitive impairments, learning disabilities. And I will tell you that it is my opinion that cognitive tests, and to a certain extent, maybe even the academic tests, are not a good indicator of achievement or present level of a child with a cognitive disability. And so what can we do then? Sometimes we actually have to go on like progress reporting. We have to go on teacher like input. We have to go on curricular assessments. Like, what are we looking at the end of every chapter of a test? Or is there an assessment that goes with the science curriculum? Maybe we're looking at checklists. Like I always say, in kindergarten, you get that thing that's like, here's how many letters you know, here's how many letter sounds you know, here's how many letters you can write. Do you know the date? Do you know your address? All of that stuff. It's like the stuff from the Brigance, which is a standardized test. Well, I don't know if standardized, but yeah, it's probably standardized. That kind of information might be what you get. But within those present levels, we're at number 2 right now. We need accurate assessments. We need to know where the child is so that we can write a goal about where we want for them to be. So number 2 is accurate assessment. Yes, I was afraid that my tea was going to be too hot, and it is still, in fact, too hot. Number 3, a progress report. It's so super important to know how we've done on previous goals. I've talked before about goal tracking. What we learned from the 2017, I think, Supreme Court case, Indro F, is that goals need to be appropriately ambitious. And so we shouldn't then, in my opinion, for the most part, be repeating goals, because how is a goal ambitious if we're working on it for 2 years? Like we set it out saying this is an annual goal, something that we think that we can do within the year, and then repeat it with no tweaks, right? Like that doesn't make any sense to me. But if that's ever suggested, or if we suggest upping the ante just a little bit, I want to look at the progress. I want to look at the progress on skills that lead up to this. So I want to look at what has the child been doing before, and how did the child do on those things before, in order to write the goals for this year. It's so simple. We need progress reports before we write goals because we need to see what they were doing and how they were doing before we address the next year. And that's as simple as it gets. So we need to really understand their progress reports from not only the previous IEP cycle, but from 3 or 4. When I do a file review, I usually go back 3 years. Now, when I'm going back 3 years, the immediate year, I really analyze that IEP. The year prior, I might just pull the goals from it. 2 years prior, I'm almost definitely just pulling goals. And then I might look to see, if it's an inclusion case, what their minutes were, or if it's a speech case or a behavior case, I might look at speech or behavior in the IEP. But for the most part, I'm really just kind of looking at their goals because I want to see what they've worked on so that we can make the right things henceforth. So that's number 3, progress reports. Number 4 is classroom data. So this is the stuff that comes from that kindergarten report. So the information about what's happening in the classroom. This could be like tests, modified or not, it could be tests from the classroom. It could also be like checklists that teachers do, just check-ins that they do with everybody. If it's elementary school, and we're looking at the reading goal, we absolutely want to look at information from your reading group, from your leveled reading groups. We want to look at stuff that is outside the IEP to see how we're doing on all skills in the classroom. And to the extent, here's a great thing to do. If issues come up during the year, if a teacher says, gosh, I just don't know if they're playing with other kids, or, we are having a hard time coming back from the playground every time, or I think that there's like a sensory thing with certain classrooms, but I can't put my finger on it. That's when you say, maybe we should start taking some data. Maybe we should just start jotting down when that happens, when that does or does not happen, depending on what it is. And then we can look at that data and we can make goals, or we can curate instruction differently from that data. So this one takes a lot of foresight, especially as kids age, because classroom data is less voluminous, less prevalent as kids age, for the most part. I mean, it varies teacher by teacher, of course. Griffin had a really, really, really wonderful 4th grade teacher who also actually babysat for us. And she gave him I always forget if our district does MAP or STAR testing. Look, I just found mints in my pocket. That's exciting. And I don't know, MAP or STAR, it doesn't matter. But I think they have to do it 3 times. And she maybe did it 12 because I think she was honestly excited about his reading level. But it was good, because we had a lot of data on him. And so it was good. And maybe I think it was his data, in fact, that taught me that everybody's data slips in February. Even the most voracious of readers have data that gets kind of bad when the weather's bad. And in Kentucky, that's February. Okay, so number 4 is classroom data. Number 5, clear baselines. So we want to suggest new goals. Well, what's that mean about where we have been? We need baselines on suggested goals. And this is why it's super important to talk before the IEP. Or before the meeting, right? Because, you don't want for schools to predetermine, right? To say, well, this is what the IEP is going to say. This is what we suggest, and it's take it or leave it. But at the same time, parents want input, but then we also want baselines, and we can't get baselines if we haven't met first. And so it's like this conversation. The way it happens in my kids' school right now is like the most amazing thing in the universe. The teacher calls me about 6 weeks before he's due for his annual. We have a nice conversation about where he is, his progress, any testing that we've done, anything else. And then we talk about proposed goals. She usually has a list of ideas, and then I weigh in on the ideas, and it's this super collaborative, nice conversation. And then she takes baseline, and then when we get together for the meeting, then she has the suggested collaborative list of goals, and she's got baseline data on them. That's like pie in the sky. I did nothing to impact that process. That's the way she did it already. And it's like 2 thumbs up and 2 toes up because it's really awesome. Big toes, thumb toes. Okay. Number 5, clear baseline data. Baseline data, like initial data, where are we starting off for these new goals that we're going to put onto the IEP? And then number 6 is a good list of student strengths and weaknesses. Why? Because as we're writing the goal, we should be thinking about how are we going to teach to this goal? What specially designed instruction will we curate, will we tailor to the unique needs of this child? That's the next question that we should be asking. And that should always be in the forefront of our mind when we're thinking about the goal. We should be thinking about, well, what are we going to do with this goal? How are we going to work on it? How can we capitalize on the child's strength? Or what weaknesses do we want to address? And hopefully, we're doing both of those things at the same time. That one's pretty short and sweet, but it is super duper crazy important. So, number 1, accurate present levels. Number 2, accurate assessments. Number 3, progress reports. Number 4, classroom data. Number 5, clear baselines. And number 6, student strengths and weaknesses. I really hope that helps you as you are writing goals this fall. And as always, if you have any questions, reach out to me. We have kind of some exciting things going on around here. I'm working on a project and I honestly hope to roll it out in September. And I don't think that's going to happen because of our childcare situation here this summer. However, I think that so this new project should be coming out sometime this fall or early winter. And so I'm going to be doing some market research. So if you are not on the mailing list, please hop over to the website and join the mailing list because I would love your input. And I think we're going to be doing some big promotions too. So stay tuned on social media. We're talking about giveaways of like ginormous products. So Rachel and I have to figure it out. We're going to take a couple weeks off here in a smidge as I travel for some swim meets and kind of backs up to some of Rachel's travel. And so we're going to have a little bit of a dead period and then we're going to hit the ground running for the beginning of the school year. So I hope you have a great week. I will see you next week. Same time, same place. Thanks for tuning in.